Good morning and welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for another fan debate show, and here we're looking at Hull City's January transfer window. I'm your host, Jordan Dagless, and joining me this morning is Ant Northgraves, a Tigers fan. Ant, how are you? I'd imagine pretty happy this morning.
Yeah, a lot better considering the takeover has gone through yesterday. I think the entire Hull City fan base is probably feeling a bit chirpier this morning. Well, maybe a few sore heads, but a lot better. We've actually got something to look forward to for once. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Certainly is on the back of a great win over Blackburn as well. Hull fans, do get in touch with us. What are your hopes for the rest of the window? Hopefully some business can be done now that the takeover has gone through. We're across Twitter, Facebook and YouTube for the next 20 or so minutes. But let's get straight into the show. And it's probably, it's been quite a quiet window so far for the Tigers. I think it's fair to say, for obvious reasons, I suppose. But let's just talk about it in a general sense, first of all. What were you hoping for going into this market? And I guess the real question is how much is the takeover going to change things for the next couple of weeks?
I think it's tough because obviously when we knew the takeover was going to, it got to its nearly completed stage in about December. We had a few takeover should be completed by this day kind of scenarios, like before Christmas, before New Year, etc. So we knew that the takeover was about to change, and with the Lambs being in charge, they already weren't willing to invest any more than they did. Obviously, like they said, after the FA rejected the name, they didn't want to put any more money into the club. They wanted to produce talent, sell it, and then use the money that way. And then you've got to add that also to the fact that we had a transfer embargo in summer after we got promoted. So we couldn't spend any actual fees on players. We had to sign freebies and loanies, which is, it's hard to improve your starting 11 when you're restricted that way. So for this transfer window, we literally, we talk about it on my podcast that it's so impossible to talk about what's realistic as a target for us, because we had so many rumours coming up about players from the Turkish league or pretty much Premier League, or spending 8 million on players or something like that, which is just, but you don't know what's true, because obviously the Lambs were still in charge at that time. We still hadn't had the takeover come through. We started getting a bit anxious because January's nearly over and we've still not signed anybody. If anything, we've only lost McGuinness, so we've actually only weakened. So realistically, we knew we only needed about 3 or 4 more players, cover a bit more experience in the side, because we have got a very young squad. We probably only needed maybe a couple of goal scoring forwards, because we are struggling to score goals this season, and a bit of experience at the back, and then maybe some cover in the wing back position, because we don't really know what's happening with Josh Emmanuel at the minute. So hopefully now the takeover's gone through, we start seeing some players through the door.
Yeah, that has to be the hope. Have you got to try and, limit your expectations a little bit? Is it hard to try and not get carried away? Because you've been waiting for this for such a long time, obviously, as a fan base, that there's got to be a bit of excitement about what could happen in this window.
The guy, they had an interview with the new chairman yesterday on Sky Sports, and he ended the question with, supporters only really want to see one thing when they get a new owner, to open the checkbook and start signing some players kind of thing. And he did promise, he said he was going to sign a few players. So by the sounds of it, they've got plans and they've got targets that they want. Where they come from, what league they're from, we're yet to know. Like I said, there's been a few rumours flying around, but to establish which ones are actually true is very difficult. If he's got aspirations of the Premier League, then we definitely need some backing. McCann said himself, we've got a very good, young, exciting squad, but they do need help at the minute. We're very thin in some areas, so we need to try and make sure that we've got the ability to have players that can replace the starting 11 through injury or COVID or whatever and be just as good, because barring our strongest 11, we will struggle in most games. So yeah, hopefully he gets at least maybe 3 or 4 more players before the end of the window, and we can hopefully push on to a more mid-table finish and not be in a relegation dogfight.
I guess the hope as well, and has to be for Hull supporters, that actions will speak louder than words here with this new ownership. I guess there's always going to be wariness given the way things ended with the last ownership, that he's making all the right noises, which is great, but time will only tell whether he's actually going to be able to deliver on what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he said when the Lambs first came in. We loved them. They saved us. They said all the right things, that they wanted to I think at one point they said they wanted tickets to be like £10 because fans paid far too much to watch football. They said they were going to, turn the stadium into a sports village if they got it from the council. And it turned sour. Some people can change given certain circumstances. So in the Alam's case, it was being told no a couple of times. They wanted the stadium to be given to them. They didn't want to buy it. They got told no, so they changed to the whole Tigers thing. And then the fans didn't want that, and they responded badly to that, and sort of created a disconnect from the fans and the local media as well. They banned them from the stadium. So, it just shows you how quickly things can turn sour. But I think the difference is that they were never really football people, and Adjon Ilagella is from everything he said and everything he's done, he seems like he actually is a football fan. So to me, when he's coming into a club, and I mean, he's coming in and saying, the fans are the most important bit. We're going to be a big family. We're going to do this together. I mean, you worry is that obviously he's a TV personality, so he might just know what to say. But at the moment, we've got to take it as it is. And, we've struggled for a few years under the Lambs now. So if he says it, we've got to believe it up until he gives us a reason not to. But he seems like he's a good guy, and that he wants genuinely the best for the club and the fans. He does seem to love us. So he loves the appreciation we've been giving him too.
Okay, yeah, hopefully good signs. Let's go to a couple of comments that come in on YouTube. Mr. Moore's got in touch. Looks like we're signing Alexander Pesic, top scorer in Turkey. We desperately need goals. Obviously, we've spoken about the Turkish link there. Potentially, an exciting signing. And obviously, you said as well that Hull do need to be looking at attacking areas in particular.
Yeah, we do, because obviously we lost Josh McGuinness to Wigan. I think uncertainty around the takeover in that area, and then he got a contact saying Wigan are willing to take you, and it's a player's job at the end of the day, isn't it? So he needs a security. So he's gone for a 2.5 year, 3 year deal at Wigan, I think, which you can't blame him really. He did struggle at this level, but then when you add Malik Wilkes' lengthy injury, we're playing him as a striker as well, so it only leaves us with Tom Eaves and Tyler Smith up top, who, Tyler Smith's not scored in the league yet this season. He's only got the 1 goal against Everton in the Cup. Tom Eaves has been a bit part player. He hasn't really had a consistent run in the first team since a couple of years ago when we first signed him, because he played second fiddle to McGuinness. The change of system means that we need more strikers, because we had 4, but we only used to play 1 through the middle, so it was okay. But now that we play 2 up top, we haven't really got any cover there. So, and the fact that Keane Lewis-Potter, who's playing as our left wing back, and then you've got George Honeyman, who's a centre midfielder, who are both our top scorers, it's quite odd to not have any strikers in your top 2 goal scorers. It just shows you how much we're struggling to score. So, anybody in any league that seems to be in form and scoring goals, I'd be willing to hope that we're going to try and sign, because we've had a look at that Pesic. Apparently, it's 12 goals in 19 games in the Turkish league. I know it's a different league and everything, but a goal scorer is a goal scorer out there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I think we'd take any reinforcements in the attacking side of things at the minute. We're desperate for goals. Second lowest scorers in the league, so we need something up top.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Vinny's got in touch as well on YouTube. 2 strikers, 2 experienced centre halves, and maybe fullback cover. And it'll be in a solid window. Certainly be a busy week or so left in the market if you could get all of those done. Hull fans, do keep the comments coming in. We are live for at least another 10 or so minutes. And let's talk about Josh McGuinness a little bit more. We have touched on him a bit in this show. He's obviously moved to Wigan. And what were your thoughts when it happened?
It's a weird one, because sorry. 2-6.
Oh, he's gone. Hopefully Ant's going to come back in a minute, and we can carry on talking about Josh McGuinness. I don't think it was that bad a question. Here he is. There you are, Ant.
Sorry about that.
Just saying. I didn't think it was too controversial a question.
No, it's because I'm on my phone. My laptop's upstairs, but the missus is asleep, so it's throwing my schedule out the window. No, Josh McGuinness, it's a weird one, like I was saying, because last season he was phenomenal for us. We played obviously the 4-3-3 system. He played through the middle and was more of the sort of the anchor for the younger Keane Lewis-Potter and Malik Wilkes that he played alongside. He scored 18 goals, so it was a phenomenal season for him last season. But he just didn't seem to cut it this year. I don't know if it was, the fact that the squad kind of struggled fitness-wise. We had a couple of COVID outbreaks, but he never really seemed to get going. I think he only scored 3 before he left. and a few of his performances weren't the kind of McGuinness that we're used to. So to me, I was all right for him to move on in the case that, you know, he's a very good League One player and I can see why he left. But in terms of our squad, it just left us very thin. And obviously when your anxiety is growing from the takeover not going through, you're wondering, like, you know, we're going to be stuck with Tom Hughes and Tyler Smith, which aren't the most potent two strikers that we've got at the club. So if we had a replacement lined up, it would have been it would have been an okay signing for, well, an all right player for us to let go. But given the circumstances at the time, it left us quite thin up top.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Are there any other players in the last week or so of the window that you might be worried about going? Obviously, George Honeyman's been having a good season, but given the takeover, do you think there's a good chance now he'll be able to keep the squad together?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a few Premier League clubs sniffing around Keane Lewis-Potter. I know Brentford are apparently quite interested in him, and West Ham have apparently got quite a bit of an interest in Keane Lewis-Potter. But George Honeyman, I think, I haven't seen anything about any teams wanting him yet. I think someone mentioned to me that Leeds have inquired, but we haven't seen any sort of official sources say anything about that. So, but I'm hoping that obviously with a new owner that it can give them an improved deal, because I think one of the problems with the Alams is that they used to leave contract talks far too late. Like, they would leave it to the last 6 months of the contract, where, you know, players are wondering whether or not they're going to be here next season, and then teams and agents start actively looking for another club just in case, kind of thing, and it creates quite a negative situation around them players. So hopefully the new guy comes in and just says, look, you guys are our key players. Here's a new contract. You're important to us. We want you to stay. I mean, Keane Lewis-Potter, I think the biggest thing for us is obviously that he's from Hull. So hopefully, you know, a new owner can come in and say, I want to take this club back up to the top. Do you want to come for the ride with us? Would be a big pull factor. But, you know, he's a very good player. So if you know, we struggle for the remainder of this season and then the Premier League team comes calling in summer, you couldn't really agree with him. It's the same as Bowen, really. Like, you don't want to lose them, but you can understand why, kind of thing. So hopefully we keep hold of him.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Let's talk Grant McCann now, and a couple of comments have come in as well concerning him. Mr. Morrison, it'd be interesting to see if Ant thinks McCann will be staying or not. Vinny's got back in touch as well on YouTube. If he does go, who would you like the new owners to get? With someone with more experience or their own man? I mean, there's a lot of questions we can go in with Grant McCann, isn't there? I mean, he himself has said that he's not sure exactly what the future is going to hold, and it sounds like there's going to be discussions with the new owners in the next few days. What's your hunch saying, first of all, with his future?
It's a strange one, you know, because usually, like, to me, we've spoke about this to my mates. You would expect that when a new owner's coming in, that he would have at least had some contact with McCann, you know, to say, you're not in my plans, or I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing with you yet, or you are going to stay. But the fact that he's not even been in contact with him yet, sorry, my baby's just playing up. The fact that he's not even been in contact with him at all is pretty strange. And I think when you watch the Sky Sports interviews yesterday, and the fact that McCann was quite, you know, when he was asked about his future, he seemed kind of coy as well. So he doesn't know. And then they asked the owner, and he was pretty distant about it too. So it's a very strange situation. And I think that realistically, I think he's going to be looking at probably wanting to bring in like a Turkish manager or something. So, I mean, I'd preferably like to see McCann have a go with money. I know he's been, you know, quite a Marmite figure amongst our fan base lately, but it's, you know, he's changed the system. We've started playing a lot better under it, and he's let's be honest, he has been cut a very, very hard hand this season. You know, not being able to sign players for any fees or anything. So maybe give him a chance with money, give him to the end of the season, see what he can do. You know, if we end up really struggling, or you know, he makes his mind up by the end of the season, he decides to get somebody else, then fair enough. But I think it'd be very harsh to lose him. I'd probably say I'd like him to stay till at least the end of the season.
Okay. I mean, if he does go, just going back to Vinny's question, he says, you know, if they do change, what route would you like them to go down? They bring their own man in, potentially from Turkey, or potentially, you know, a manager that hasn't got much experience in the EFL or in the Championship, or maybe they go for someone that does know the league at least for the 6 months for the rest of the season, and then, you know, they review it again in the summer.
Yeah, it's preferably if they were to replace him, I would like to see a manager that could that knew the Championship for starters, because it's a very difficult league, especially if you're aiming for the Premier League. You need somebody who knows how to get you out of the division. There's you got to think about. I mean, I at the time when we went through a really bad run and we was on about him potentially getting sacked or and any replacements at the time, I really wanted us to go for Chris Wilder, because we all wanted the 3-5-2 system that he plays. We've been pining for that for a long time. But then obviously he went to Middlesbrough and they're doing very well now. So, but Grant's changed to that 3 at the back system. So if he was to be replaced, I'd preferably want to see maybe a look at if his aspirations are Premier League level. I'm pretty sure he could convince I'm trying to think of managers that are out of work. Maybe a Slaviša Jokanovic. Is he out of work at the minute? Daniel Farke. Somebody who plays exciting attacking football that could probably bring the best out of these young players and can try and aim for a Premier League return. Because it's okay hiring coaches from other leagues and abroad, but you don't know how well they're going to do and how long it's going to take them to adapt to this league. And with 6 months to the end of the season, do we really want to be taking a gamble, with relegation a possibility? I wouldn't like to do that. So if he was going to hire one of them coaches, I think it would be for summer, I would hope. But if not now, then an experienced manager of this league, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose whatever decision they make, they need to make it pretty quickly, don't they? Because, you do need new players coming in. And whoever the manager is, he needs to have some say in what those signings are going to be. Yeah,
we are running out of time. You don't like having a frantic deadline day because transfer fees are always blown up, and sometimes you have to wait for a player to leave for you to be able to sign that said player, and it just causes chaos. So if McCann's going to remain in charge for the foreseeable, then he needs to be told pretty much today so that he can crack on in the transfer market and try and get some players in before deadline day and help have a settled squad ready for the remainder of the season. Because I think the longer that he doesn't get in touch with McCann, the longer that there's no clarity amongst him and his backroom staff and the players, that it's just gonna get worse and worse in terms of getting towards the end of the transfer window, and fans' anxiety will grow, and then you get more questions asked, and then it just creates another negative situation you don't want to be in when we're in such a good place at the minute. So clarity, I think, is what they said last night was the main word. I think we do, even as fans, we want to know what his plans are. So hopefully either today or tomorrow we find out whether or not McCann's staying, so we can try and crack on in this transfer window and strengthen the squad.
Yeah, you have to hope that announcement will be pretty imminent either way there. Finally then, let's just sort of wrap it up. I guess looking ahead then to the sort of last week or so of the window, kind of touched on it already, but what do you really hope for by deadline that's going to happen at Hull?
2 new strikers, definitely. I think as a minimum, 2 new strikers and 1 experienced centre-half would probably be okay. But like the comment said earlier, at least maybe another couple of players at the back, 2 strikers, and maybe 1 or 2 for each wing-back, because the wing-back system we play at the minute is fine, but the players that we use out there are essentially wingers. They're not really full-backs. So, you look at Keane Lewis-Potter, who's more of an attacking inside forward. We're using him as a wing-back at the minute. Ryan Longman's the same. He's technically a striker or an inside forward, whatever you want to refer to him as. Randell Williams is more of a classic winger. Then we've got the likes of Callum Elder, who's really just a full-back. He's not better with the wing side of things. So we've got an unbalanced wing-back system kind of thing. So for games where we want to be more solid, you probably want a more all-rounded wing-back who's good at that role entirely, rather than just strengthened in one area of it. So like we say, we don't know what's happening with Josh Emmanuel. Don't know if he's coming back to the squad yet or not. Louis Coyle's injured. Callum Elder's injured at the minute. So we're just playing wingers out there. So probably a bit of cover on the wing-backs as well. Definitely no more midfielders, I don't think, unless we lose a couple. There's no need. I know we're interested in signing Regan Slater from Sheffield United again. We had him on loan last season, but we're a very, very midfielder heavy squad. So I don't know why we're in for him again. But you got the likes of Matt Smith on loan that we're not even playing. So Yeah, I think that'd be it for us. Maybe a wing back for either side, a couple of centre halves, and a couple of strikers definitely, and we'll be okay for the remainder of the season. I'd say.
Okay, certainly could be a busy week or so. Hull City in terms of the transfer window and what's left of it. And just before we go, where can Hull City fans get your thoughts on all things Tigers?
So I run the To Hull and Back podcast. If you've not seen before, City fans, it's at Hull_and_back. We try and do episodes weekly. We've got YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. We're available on all them. My handle's just below me on this thingy. If you want to try and click through that way, it'll be in my bio. We do try and talk about. We review games, preview games, talk about takeovers. We've just had an interview with Phil Brown and Leon Court on our channel, so we're trying to get former players and managers on too. So if you haven't seen us, check us out, have a look. We're growing steadily. We're enjoying the ride. So do come over and let us know what you think about the channel and how well we're doing and what we can improve on.
Okay, good stuff. Tigers fans, do be sure to check that out. Coming up on Football League World TV. Meanwhile, we've got a packed schedule. Another fan debate looking at Sheffield Wednesday's transfer window. That's 1:10 Alfie Burns hosting that one. He's joined by Owls fan James Mappin. At 2:00, a Portsmouth January transfer window show. Sam Rourke hosting that one with the guys from 4-0 written all over it. At 3 p.m, Luton Town January transfer window show. Billy Mully hosting that one. He's joined by his Hatters supporters Dylan and Ian. And then at 7:00 tonight, we've got a Stoke City transfer window show as well. Ben Wignall hosting that one. He's joined by Potter supporter Ben Rowley. And just before we go as well, please do like Football League World TV on YouTube. Do subscribe to the channel. And if you can like this video as well, that'd be greatly appreciated by all of us here. But and it's been great to catch your thoughts this morning. Hopefully it's going to be a good week or so left for your club in the transfer window. And hopefully as well, the season can really kick on and you can climb that league table. And
hopefully
you enjoy what's going to come under this new ownership.
Yeah. Thank you, mate.
Nice one. We'll speak to you soon. And people at home, thanks for joining us and thanks for the comments you sent in as well. That's greatly appreciated. But from myself and Ant, it's bye for now.